press that to speak. Oh, Thomas's background is very exciting.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Dr. Laverne Lewis this morning, and TriMed's new board president. I'll be looking down a lot because this is my first in the training wheels as your new president, so it's kind of exciting for me, and hopefully we'll have a great meeting this morning. Welcome to TriMed's Board of Directors meeting for September 25th, 2024. We are gathered here at One Main Place for the third time in our newly constructed home, TriMed's boardroom, for this board meeting. Members of our TriMed board are present for this meeting with Directors Kim virtually and Director Edwards. Good morning. We begin with our public forum. We begin with those who are present and have signed up to testify. Members of the public who wish to provide testimony but could not be here will be joining us virtually after they have heard from those who are here present and have signed up to testify. For all those offering testimony this morning, please direct your comments to TriMed and our transit-related services rather than other topics. We also ask that comments be limited to 3 minutes. You will note that there will be a time indicator to help you comply with this request, and we ask that you do respect this time. If you're unable to limit your comments to 3 minutes, you may provide additional comments in writing. TriMed staff will be able to provide an email address to you so that you can send those comments to the board. Now, I will at this time call to the testimony table 2 people at a time. And please pardon me if I mispronounce the name, or I will give the first and you can help me with your last name. The first 2 that I have is Anish. Can you pronounce your last name for me? Thank you. Please come forward. And our second person, Doug Allen. You may proceed. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. With the support of Honorable Governor Tina Kotek, Honorable TriMed General Manager Sam Dessou, Honorable TriMed CFO Nancy Young Oliver, Honorable Board President Dr. Laverne Lewis, and Honorable Board Vice President Thomas Kim, I will suggest to Senate committees to provide additional federal grants to TriMed for building robots that will build the next generation of buses, trains, railroads, and bridges. Pentagon and Congress will listen to my suggestions since they respect me for the lives that I saved in 2003 Gulf War. Second suggestion is to reduce future liability for TriMed. please allocate about $100 million for the families of TriMet employees and contractors that passed away for any reason from November 1st of 2019. Even if they've worked one day after November 1st, 2019, it also qualifies them as well. Because the reason for the passing away is hard to prove, but many of it is related to work condition in terms of the getting black mold, and the COVID was actually partially, TriMet was responsible for not reacting on time. And please ask, request, require the TriMet employees and contractors to get tested yearly for black mold, and allow them and do not charge them at all. And if they test positive, please provide the health insurance and hospital bills for the rest of their lives. And those that already have the and those that already have the black mold, please include them in giving them a portion of that $100 million. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Good morning, President Lewis and directors. My name is Doug Allen. I'm the Portland Area Vice President of AORTA, Association of Oregon Rail and Transit Advocates. And I want to join in welcoming Aaron Graham and J.T. Flowers as prospective members of the TriMet board, and thank them for their comments to the Senate Rules and Executive Appointments Committee yesterday. Service on the TriMet board is a big volunteer commitment of time and energy, but our transit system is so important to the environment, regional livability, economic vitality, and especially to TriMet's riders. On the second topic, I also want to say that I'm pleased to see TriMet moving forward on next-gen transit signal priority, which I hope to see deployed system-wide in all jurisdictions and not just on BRT routes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next,
Did you get a copy of my information?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
next I would like to invite up to the testimony table Jan Campbell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jan Campbell, and I am the chair of the Committee on Accessible Transportation for TriMet. And it's nice to see some new faces. I don't think I've been here since some have come on board, and congratulations on your new position. I am very excited about this building. I only live a few blocks from here, and as you know, I call TriMet my family, so I can get here within 5 minutes. So TriMet, watch out. And I love the ramp. It's very, very nice. I came to the board this morning wanting you to know how much Kat is going to miss having Director Edwards on our committee. He has attended not just our business meeting, but ad hoc and subcommittee meetings. He has been actively involved. He not only gave Kat reports to you, but he brought issues to us that were discussed by the board that he knew we would be interested in because of the population we represent. These being older adults and persons with disabilities. We know that TriMet is committed to serving all people in our community. One way to do that is to be sure, under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, of 1964 that your policies are equitable in the service you provide and the cost of fares. The inequities that TriMet is focusing on pertaining to Title VI also pertain to persons with disabilities. Director Edward realizes that persons with disabilities and older adults are in all communities, and the issues affect them as well, or affect us, I should say. He gets it. He is not afraid to speak up and ask questions, and is a wonderful advocate. When he speaks, people listen, and he is very passionate about making our transit system welcoming to everyone. And of course, then that means universal access. We will truly miss you, and we also know that what we have learned from each other will be continued on in both our future advocacy work. Thank you, and personally, you will not be forgotten, and you will always be in my heart. Stay safe, healthy, and enjoy, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for this morning's personal testimony. We will now go to those who have signed on for our virtual testimony. There. Okay, good morning.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Jordan Del Valle Telonian, did I pronounce that correctly?
Del Valle Tenoyan.
Sound. 1 second, we're going to check sound. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
That's interesting. Thomas came.
Okay, Jordan, start again. Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me this time?
Yeah.
Thomas, can you give us a word to see if we can hear you?
Yeah, test,
No,
test.
but
I
let
do
us
hear
hear
Jordan.
you.
Test, test.
Same volume.
Same volume, okay.
Okay.
Give us 1 second to see if we can better the volume. Okay, let's try one more time. Jordan?
Can you hear me now?
Test, test.
Thank you, Jordan, for your patience.
Not a problem.
Okay, we're not having, Jordan, if you can hear me, thank you for your patience. And it's a little difficulty here with the audio. Give us maybe 1 more minute and we can see if we can make the correction. Okay.
Test, test. 1, 2, 3, test, test.
Okay, to those in audio, can we try one more time? Jordan, share a few words?
Yeah, can you hear me this time?
No, we're not doing well on the testing.
Can we open the door?
Again, thank you, Jordan, for your patience. And To our two board directors who I believe have the same issue.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Director Edwards, you're very, very faint, so it's the same for those that are coming on our virtual.
Okay, because I can hear Jordan and Thomas just fine.
We're going to pause for about 5 minutes to just give some time so that audio can work on, refresh your coffee, chit chat. We'll be right back. Okay, we're going to test again. They're not on the screen. It's because they have their cameras off. Their cameras are off? Okay.
Test, test.
Perfect. We hear you, Thomas. We do not see
Good,
you.
good.
Jordan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me this time?
Awesome. Okay. I think we're going to be a go with the absence of your visual, but we will hear you.
It's just that screen there.
Oh. Perfect. Okay. Jordan, can you proceed?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This testimony is regarding the public records request regarding board member ridership data. The response to the records request and fair validations themselves was disappointing, as you and your staff were adamant that your own ridership of the system did not have any effect on your ability to fulfill your duties as board members, when it definitely does. These statements are an example of worrying trend of a lack of transparency and accountability displayed by TriMet in public communications and operations. Riders deserve transparency in operations and decision-making and demand accountability from board members and staff. Boards should be proud to ride TriMet, but from your statements and the number of vehicles in the lot at the Better Red event, it appears as though most of you nor your staff are riders by necessity. Riders deserve frequent and reliable transit that you as board members would care to use yourselves and go about your daily lives personally and professionally. Board members should be experts in the field of public transportation, either by virtue of their professional career experience or personal experience as a member of the 30% of our population who does not drive and relies on public transportation. Take this moment to please consider your position. Either use TriMet and use your position to make the change that you wish to see, or use it to uplift the voices of those who depend on public transportation in our region, or consider your position and use it, or don't use it, so someone who better fit for the position can take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you this morning for everyone for the public and virtual testimony. At this time, I close the public forum. Okay, at this time, we'll open for our formal business meeting. Let's start with our board reports. I'd like to first start with our Committee on Accessible Transportation, CAT, and ask for Director Edwards to provide a report of his recent meeting.
Keith, you're muted.
Okay, there I'm unmuted.
Very good. Okay.
I wasn't able to attend the meeting last week. I was out of town, but I did receive a staff report, and I certainly appreciate that. Jan Campbell opened the meeting at 9 a.m., and CAT members will be attending the Oregon Transit Association supporting TriMet staff in their session on presenting well, designing and presenting inclusive and accessible community engagement presentations. Fixed Route Subcommittee met in August and received a presentation regarding bus stop amenities. A couple of issues were hot topics, including seating at different stop types and bus stops, with rough terrain leading to and from the stop location. Updates were shared about the stipends now being offered to TriMet advisory committees. The committee is really pleased to be receiving these stipends. CAT was also encouraged to participate in and share the TV Highway Community Survey. Eileen also shared the great news that the Lyft Instacart pilot project received the Innovation Award from the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA. Eileen completed her presentation on the impressive 2024 Lyft customer experience survey results, and Pat Williams provided an update on TriMet safety and security initiatives, specifically the upcoming blue light phones and elevator access control successes. Guy Ben provided a comprehensive presentation on TriMet Transit-Oriented Development Program with an overview of the work under development at Burnside and 122nd and Burnside and 181st. That completes my report.
Thank you, Director Edwards. At this time, are there any questions or comments for the Committee on Accessible Transportation from board members? Okay. Okay, seeing none. Next, I would like to invite Director Kim to provide a report on the recent meeting with the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, MPAC.
Thank you, President Lewis. I'll provide an update from July and September meetings since our last meeting. The MPAC has been advancing discussions around the 2024 Urban Growth Management Decision. So in July, MPAC was briefed by Metro staff on the Urban Growth Management Functional Plan amendments required by the state, and was briefed on technical updates summarizing key analysis in the draft Urban Growth Report. We were off in August, but we got together again to discuss the recently released Metro staff recommendation for the Urban Growth Report with a series of conditions. Their recommendation proposes a regional need for an urban growth boundary UGB expansion to provide land for housing and jobs, and that need should be addressed by adding the Sherwood West Urban Reserve to the UGB. We are meeting again tonight to finalize our recommendation on this topic to the Metro Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. From the board members, are there any questions or comments? Yes, Director Frisbee.
Thank you, President Lewis. Director Kim, as always, I am interested in the land use occurrences and their relationship to transit. When I read the Metro staff report on the UGB edition, I didn't see clarity around the expectations for transit service for that West Sherwood edition. Do you have any insight? Did you discuss that as part of the conversation?
Yes, I think what you saw is, I think you saw clearly that there is a lack. And if I may, provide slight more details tonight when we do vote on the Sherwood item, representing TriMet, I do plan to vote nay, to not support the matter. The reality is we are asked, we as in TriMet are asked to participate in this MPAC committee for the purpose of providing our perspective from our regional transportation perspective. So I think it's important to keep it honest, right? And then to limit my vote and comments to the constituent that we serve as TriMet, setting aside my personal thoughts. if you were to, the Sherwood's development proposal is mostly single family and duplexes. It's not dense housing development that we would usually support. And frankly, as we also know, we often receive numerous critical feedback from suburban cities like Sherwood requesting for more services. But one of the very critical reason why we can't, it's difficult for us to provide more services in those areas is because how costly and difficult it is to service areas that are not dense. So accordingly, we've signaled it, but the best way to add value to this regional discussion, I believe, is to vote in a way that aligns with our values and also to provide our examples, explanations, and of course our support so that the other cities can connect with our staff and so forth. So I hope that answers the question. So the answer is no, you're right that there's not a robust plan that we would like to see.
Thank you, Director Kim. Director Frisbee?
No, thank you. I really appreciate that answer and your commitment to serving as the TriMet voice on that board. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Now I'd like to invite Director Frisbee to provide a report on the recent meeting with TEAC, the Transit Equity Advisory Committee.
Thank you, President Lewis. The TEAC Equity Advisory Committee met last week, 2 weeks ago. And first off, it was the first meeting under our new committee president, Jonas Colon. And so I want to appreciate him and his service serving as the chair of that committee, I think for the next 18 months. I'm looking at John Gardner. Okay, thank you. So excited to kick that off. There was a fair amount of discussion around events that have been happening over the summer and wrapping up that work, which was really helpful. The big discussion item of the meeting was talking about the Joint Committee on Transportation's tour around the state, hearing from folks around transportation issues and how and whether or not TEAC would like to engage. And so the committee is currently working on drafting a letter. I want to commend the TriMet staff on a very cool sort of in current time process for developing that letter, and folks responded to a survey to lift up the pieces that they wanted to highlight in the meeting. It was very well done, I think, and folks were very engaged. So the committee staff, or the TriMet staff, are still working with the committee members to draft and finalize that letter with the hopes of getting it to the Joint Committee on Transportation hearings on the 25th, and then ahead of December as well. So kudos, I think, to the TEAC team for working together to make that happen. We also discussed the stipend issue. I want to commend TriMet on offering that up to our committee members, some of whom serve as part of their regular job, some of whom serve in their spare time. And so we really want to honor and make sure that they are being rewarded for their expertise in their communities as representing their communities. Other than that, I think we highlighted and discussed some of the topics we expect to see next time: the major service plan changes, Forward Together 2.0, the FX system plan, and the fare subsidy work group. But it was a great meeting, and we look forward to our next one.
Thank you. Thanks for the additional information on the stipends. Any questions for Director Frisbee? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Director Frisbee. We will now invite Director Kellogg to provide a report on the recent meeting with the Crash Advisory Committee. Director Kellogg.
Thank you, Madam President. The Crash Committee met on September 9th. It is a newly formed committee. In some part, we've got 3 new members, including a new chair, Jason Little. The purpose of the Crash Committee is to look at crashes that occurred with TriMet assets out in the field against the backdrop of either infrastructure improvements to prevent future crashes or operator training to assist in better performance on the road. So we reviewed 7 crashes, including a few fatalities. Fortunately, those fatalities, even though sad to happen, were not determined to be the fault of TriMet operators. The other crashes involved driver misbehavior on not the TriMet side, but running into buses and those sorts of things. So we will continue this operation. We'll meet again in November to review more crashes and determine what needs to be done, if any kind of remediation. So that is my report.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Any questions from other board members for Director Kellogg at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll come to our next committee report from Finance and Audit Committee. Director Kim?
Thank you, President Lewis. A report from our F&A committee meeting this morning. First, we received an overview of our TriMet's first submission for an annual comprehensive financial report. This included more narrative on TriMet history and initiative, along with 10 years of statistical information on operations demographics. We also received an internal audit update where we were provided a summary of the many different areas reviewed for business process improvement, hotline investigations, and traditional financial and performance audits. And lastly, we also received an update on working and wage agreement, which we'll hear more about later when resolution appears before us to vote. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Are there any questions from board members for Director Kim? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the next item on our agenda, the General Manager's fiscal year 2024 performance report. Okay. The performance evaluation of our general manager is coordinated by the board president with input from the rest of the board. I want to briefly describe that process. Last year, the board set the general manager's 2024 performance objectives. There were 15 deliverables in all. Each of those deliverables had specific and measurable targets. At our July 2024 meeting, the board heard a presentation and received a written report on the year-end status of all 15 deliverables. In addition to that information, following my assumptions of duties as board president on August 1st, I reached out to each of my fellow board members and solicited feedback, lots of feedback regarding the general manager's fiscal year 24 performance. I prepared a detailed summary of the results of that work and feedback, and the document is contained in your board packet titled Fiscal Year 24 General Manager's Performance Evaluation for the time period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Attached to the performance evaluation is a copy of the general manager's 2024 deliverables with the completion status for each deliverable noted in color. Some key points to highlight from the evaluation include Sam DeSue successfully met the board's objectives as general manager for the business goals and deliverables outlined in the fiscal year 24 work plan. General Manager DeSue's accomplishments over the past year demonstrate his strong leadership in areas such as vision, accountability, collaboration, and adaptability, while also emphasizing diversity as a key organizational strength. This brought TriMet a proud moment in being honored by APTA, the American Public Transportation Association, with the Inclusive Collaboration Award in September of 2023. Some specific examples of Sam's exemplary performance and leadership include hiring at least 390 bus operators to assist with the operators shortage that was identified in preceding years, increasing safety and security presence out on our system by filling 350 positions across the safety and security teams, enrolling over 10,000 individuals in the low fare income fare program, completing a diversity, equity, inclusion, and access plan, the acquisition and commission of 24 battery electric buses, and the successful execution of the capital improvement plan. These are only a few of the examples contained in the evaluation. After completing this part of the process, I then worked with TriMed's Executive Director of Labor Relations and Human Resources. We reviewed Mr. Dessou's performance evaluation, which indicated and for 2024 was excellent. We then discussed what would be an appropriate annual merit increase for this level of performance that was consistent with TriMed's established compensation policies. You will note that the written evaluation in your board packet contained a recommendation for a 6% merit increase to take effect September 15th, 2024. This is consistent with TriMed's established compensation policies for an excellent performance rating. I will be asking the board to take action to approve this evaluation and merit increase recommendation later in this meeting after we conclude our formal resolutions. At that time, there will be lots of opportunity for board members to comment on Mr. Dessou's performance in the last fiscal year. Any questions or comments at this time, shortly? Okay, thank you. And at this time, I will turn to General Manager for his monthly report. General Manager Dessou.
Good morning, President Lewis, board members, our community. Thank you for being here. TriMed staff, the public, really appreciate you being here today. In my report this morning, I will provide timely information on July and August ridership. I will give you an update on major bus service implementation that began on August 25th. I will talk about the official completion and the opening of a Better Red with the FTA being here in town. Also, we'll talk about TriMed's 2024 Attitude and Awareness Survey. And then I'll touch on the stipends that we've talked about for our advisory committees. And then we're going to celebrate TriMed's operators, the folks that really get out there and do the job. We're going to celebrate them, Operators of the Year. There's a lot to cover, so I'm going to get started very quickly here with ridership. We'll take a look at data for at least the last couple of months, as this is our first meeting since July. TriMed provided 5.7 million fixed route trips in July. For August, TriMed provided 5.8 million rides. So I want you to think about that per month. 5.7 million in July, 5.8 million rides in August. Both months saw increases over the same months last year. And based on the August data, we can say that TriMed ridership has recovered to about 71% of where it was before the COVID-19 pandemic. So there is growth going on. Our city is revitalizing. People are riding the system that's there. We also made bus service updates late in August that are getting positive reviews, and will likely increase our ridership as we move forward in the months and also the years ahead. A couple of lines that I want to call out. Our new Line 25, which serves Reynolds High School and Mount Hood Community College, is getting great reviews. In fact, administrators at the college call it a game changer for students. We've made a number of adjustments to improve service for other local high schools, and we're hearing those lines are really working well, less overcrowding on the vehicles and fewer delays that are going on. There was a rider that was named David, went on Facebook to talk about the new Line 40. He's saying, I took my first ride on the new 40 bus from Selwood to downtown. Quote, love it, love it. And if you need to go downtown or go to OSU, OHSU, or anywhere on McAdam, he said that you can get there quickly and easily by hopping on the Line 40. We've not seen much feedback on the new bus services that's running in place of our late night MAG service on all of our lines, the blue, red, orange, and yellow. What we've heard is that the trains still run late enough into the evening hours to accommodate most schedules. Among the improvements getting the most attention is a better red. Late last month, FTA Administrator Veronica Vanterpool joined us to celebrate the official opening of the Max Red Line extension between Beaverton Transit Center and Hillsborough. Many thanks to President Lewis and Vice President Kim for coming to our event at the newly renamed Hillsborough Airport Fairgrounds Station. It was an absolute fantastic day, absolutely picture perfect. It was a day of fanfare, speeches, it was a moment of surprise and delight that took place. And then we had one of our brand new MAX Type 6 trains that provided that first ceremonial ride on the new Red Line stretch. We had elected officials, we had community leaders that really joined the celebration. There was riders that joined in the Better Red excitement. I even had a young man that was autistic with his mother that showed up, and really he was there because he loves our trains, he loves our systems, and really was part of the celebration that took place. We set up celebration pop-ups along the new portion of the line, while a Better Red travel bags, we had red vines for the Red Line. They were popular giveaways that we provided. And then we had the Type 6 squishy trains that was in high demand from people as well. This day marked the conclusion of TriMet's most significant light rail project in nearly a decade. And I truly mean it, that it was a day to remember. It was one of my highlights of being here at TriMet. And let me tell you, we're still hearing rave reviews about a Better Red. You know, cutting wait times for trains in Washington County. And I can tell you as a passenger, trains have moved from 15 minutes now to 7.5 minutes when they show up for most of the day, every day. And that's a huge win, an absolute big win for our riders. And they love it as well. And I can tell you as a rider and a passenger, I love it to see the trains coming in 7.5 minutes. Speaking of sentiment, we're now going to see the results from our 2024 Attitude and Awareness Survey. This annual survey was conducted in the spring, and it's known as the ANA. This survey is one of our best tools for really understanding the community's perspective on TriMet and our service. We received more than 4,000 valid responses this year. So how are we doing? I'm excited to bring up Lonnie Nielsen. He's our Director of Marketing, Business Development, and Fair Programs, as well as our morning presenters from PRR. Welcome, and let us know how we're doing.
Good morning. Thank you, General Manager Dessou, Dr. Lewis, Board. Within my department, I oversee writer research, and so with me today are two folks from PRR. They are our outside research firm that conducts our annual Attitudes and Awareness Survey. This is our snapshot, kind of our report card that we like to have out there, and it tells us both from our writer's perspective and our non-writer's perspective of how well we're doing. So with me today is Anne Fruget, who is the Associate Director of Research. We can go to the next slide, please. And then Hansini Munsinge will be our presenter today, who's going to do an overview of the bigger packet that you have in your board packet. So with that, I'll turn it over to Hansini.
Thank you so much for having us here today, and thank you for the great introduction. So we are here today to present findings from the Attitude and Awareness Survey. We also have a couple of team members available virtually for any additional questions you may have at the end. Next slide, please. So the overall goal with this project was to reach a broad sample of community members within the TriMet service area, including both riders and non-riders, and to measure and track key performance metrics, including approval and satisfaction with services and the agency overall, and to understand rider behaviors, including current transit use, trip purposes, motivators, and barriers to transit use, which I think are topics that were addressed in various ways today. So I think the findings will be of interest generally. As you know, this is a survey that's been done annually. This year, we fielded the survey between April 27th and May 31st of this year, and then the survey was available in 6 languages, shown here on the screen. Next slide, please. This year, we used an expanded outreach and recruitment approach. We updated our approach to mail-based recruitment. So compared to last year when we just did one invitation, this year we sent 2 invitations, a letter followed by a postcard, and we also included a QR code to make it even easier for people to answer the survey. And again, these materials were also available in all languages. We also did an email campaign and additional community outreach. Overall, these efforts were really successful, and we received 4,208 valid survey responses, which was 2.5 times more than last year. So we were really able to expand our pool of the people we're hearing from. Next slide, please. Here's some technical information about the survey. Again, we can go into more detail if folks have questions. Overall, the things to keep in mind is that this data is not weighted because we believe that it's a better approach to kind of showing what we representing what we heard. Happy to talk about that more in the Q&A. As I mentioned, we've also done improvements to recruitment methods and survey modes over time. So we'll show some data over time. So just keep in mind that we've improved the process overall across time. So we're hearing from more people compared to last year. So that's just a caveat as we move into the findings. Next slide, please. So here is a map showing the responses we received. As you can see, most respondents were from Multnomah County, as well as we heard from a lot of folks from Washington and Clackamas counties. Most people completed the survey in English. Next slide, please. Here I will move into kind of the key findings around perceptions and approval. The way that we are presenting today is we'll go through some big picture findings about how people are feeling and then move into rider behaviors. So we started off with a question, how people. Let me pull up the question real quick. We asked people, do you feel things that in the Portland metro area are generally going in the right direction, or are they on the wrong track? And compared to last year, we saw that people were feeling more positive, so you can see that wrong direction has gone down pretty significantly. Next slide, please. Next, we asked people if specifically about the job TriMet is doing, and here we see that most people said they approve, with 73% saying that they approve and 29% saying they specifically strongly approve of the job TriMet is doing. Next slide, please. Here we are now looking at specific services. Most respondents say they approve of the existing bus and MAX light rail systems, again with 37% and 40% respectively saying they strongly approve of these services. Next slide, please. Here's that same question again, shown with data over time. We see that approval for MAX light rail has stayed pretty steady compared to last year, and there's a small increase in the approval of the bus system and the job TriMet is doing overall. Next slide, please. Among TriMet riders, 68% are satisfied with their overall experience, and almost a quarter say they're very satisfied with their overall experience. Next slide. Here again, that data over time. Most riders are satisfied with their overall experience, but compared to last year, there's a satisfaction has slightly increased or kind of stayed steady, but increased especially when we look at the people who said they're very satisfied. Next slide. Yeah. Here we have we asked respondents a question, would you recommend TriMet to friends and family members? Some of you may be familiar, this is often used in marketing research called the Net Promoter Score. And we have some more information here on the slide, but the main takeaway here is that almost 40% of those who are frequent and regular riders would enthusiastically recommend TriMet to friends or family. Next slide. We asked next about kind of reliability, and here also most respondents say that TriMet buses and MAX trains are reliable, and it's pretty similar ratings for both services. Here is again that data over time. As you can see, coming together there, TriMet buses have come to be viewed as nearly as reliable as MAX trains. And now we'll move into some key findings about rider behaviors and experiences. 68% say they use public transit. Public transit is one of their most often used transportation modes, and kind of coming together with walking or rolling, followed closely by driving themselves. When we asked about the recent riding behavior, 59% of all respondents say they rode TriMet services at least several times a month in the past 12 months. So here you can see there's kind of a breakdown with some people, especially some people riding very frequently, almost every day, to several times a week as well. Next, we asked respondents kind of 2 questions about why they ride TriMet. We asked them first to tell us all the reasons why they ride TriMet, and then we asked them the top 3 most often used reasons why they ride TriMet. When we asked them about all of it, so that's the chart you see here on the left, a lot of people are riding for entertainment as well as work and for other sort of errands, seeing family, things like that. When we go to the gray box on the right, this is the top 3 most often used reasons. Here we see work and entertainment kind of being tied for that top spot, which makes sense because work, you probably go more frequently. Entertainment is probably over the weekend or evening here or there. So we kind of have these 2 ways of looking at it. But overall, the key takeaway here is that people seem to be using TriMet for a variety of purposes. So not just for commuting, but also entertainment and important errands. Next slide, please. As we're thinking about sort of why people are using TriMet, and one of the key questions we want to know is sort of people's work arrangements right now. So we asked respondents if they're currently employed, and if so, what are the kind of the work from home options available? Are they commuting, et cetera? Among employed respondents, nearly 40% do not have the option to work from home. And among those who do work from home, 70% do so at least a few times a week. So again, we are seeing sort of a big chunk of our respondents who do not work from home at all. And then even among those who do, we sort of see a variation of commute and working from home. Next slide, please. Here we asked sort of the days of the week and times of the day. While more than half of current riders say the days of the week they typically ride vary, ridership is generally higher Tuesdays through Fridays during the day, especially in the afternoon time between 3 and 6 p.m. 78% of current riders find it easy to plan their trips and to find when their vehicles will arrive. Next slide, please. And we asked them some question about how they pay their fares and what value they get for it. Here too, generally it's very positive, with 26% saying they receive excellent value for the fare they pay, and 71% rate the value as 5 or better. Here's that data again over time, and here we see even though most riders say they get good value for their fare, fewer say they get excellent value for their fare compared to last year. About half of all respondents say they would feel safe. So this is, again, moving kind of more into the experiences of riders. They say they would feel safe using TriMet services, with 54% and 42% rating safety as 5 or higher on TriMet buses and MAX trains, respectively. Next slide, please. Yeah. 82% of riders, so we asked them what makes them feel unsafe, and 82% of riders say that it's other riders' behavior that makes them feel unsafe while riding TriMet. Other reasons were mentioned much less frequently. As you can see here on this chart, lack of transit police, time of day, part of town, those things mattered too, but it was really this other riders with nuisance or aggressive behaviors that a lot of people mentioned. Next slide, please. Here we have some quotes. We asked respondents again, here's the kind of talking about other rider behaviors, their top safety concern when thinking about riding TriMet. Some also have safety concerns about stations and stop areas. I'll leave that. Okay, sorry. Okay, next we're moving into future ridership and kind of thinking ahead to the future. What are people saying is most important to them? Next slide, please. 76% of respondents intend to ride TriMet as much or more in the next 6 months as they currently do. So we see here 64% say that they're going to ride about the same, and 12% anticipate riding more frequently than they did at the time. They ask people what would motivate you to ride transit, and avoiding parking, driving traffic, kind of the pain points, are the top reasons motivating those who plan to ride TriMet more in the future. Next slide, please. 60% of respondents planning to ride TriMet less or not at all cite safety concerns. So we asked the folks who attend to say they are not going to ride as much, what are your top concerns? And here too, we are kind of seeing that same pattern appear. Safety concerns is top of mind for folks. Next slide, please. Here again is some kind of key themes that emerged when we asked folks what would get them to ride more. Top requests are general safety improvements, including onboard security. Folks also want to kind of increase service, increase frequency, new routes, closer service or stops. Some concerns about cost as well as speed, reliability improvements. Some comments also mentioned earlier, later weekend services, better vehicle tracking and travel info, increasing amenities. And I want to close with a pretty significant chunk, 7%. So this is, we didn't ask that, we just asked them what's on your mind. And 7% shared that they ride TriMet frequently and are very satisfied with the services, kind of use the comment section to thank TriMet for their experience. Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to get questions from everybody.
Okay, thank you very, very much. That was very informative. A lot of information to digest, and it was in our packets. At this time, I'll see if there are any questions from our board members. We'll first go with Director Frisbee. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you, Lonnie, for leading this work for TriMet. It's such a fun thing every year. So I love getting a chance to dig into it. And I probably will also take guidance from the chair if I should follow up later with some of these questions, and might try to see if the crosstabs are available. But my big picture question is, I know PRR does a lot of transit surveys across the country. Were there things that jumped out at you when looking at the TriMet results that were different than what you're seeing in a lot of other places, either in a good way or a bad way? And just anything. Would love to hear sort of how this is comparing to what you're seeing across the country.
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind are actually similarities. So kind of safety concerns is, I think, top of mind everywhere with the other places we work with, but also generally just the sentiment across transit agencies right now, as you're probably aware. So I don't think that's very unique to TriMet. I think one of the exciting things that jumps out to me, I don't want to say this is like statistically different from what we've seen elsewhere, but it does seem like people are using TriMet for multiple purposes, so that it's not just one of the commuter-focused services. I think that's one of the things that jumps out to me. And also people's willingness to ride more in the future and ride it for different purposes. I think that's a very positive thing that stands out to me.
That's helpful. Thank you. I think we are not an island, right? We are all in this together. I'm trying to think about what questions make sense in this. I had a question for slide 19, where 59% say that they rode in the last couple of months, either frequently or with some regularity. And this might be a question that also involves, I don't know, someone else. Alan, Tom, I'm looking. Does that seem to align with what that says to me? And I without looking at the crosstabs and without diving in, is that we actually have a lot of people who are riding sort of occasionally. Does that align with our ridership numbers? Does that align with what we understand from a data perspective? What I'm wondering is how much people, and as we look at this, so this is like, is this people who want to give an answer that makes them feel good? So they're like, I'm on it all the time, right? Or I would never think of voting for that person while they're secretly filling out their ballot voting for that person. For example, that's a common phenomenon in electoral polling. Does that translate to transit agencies?
Yeah, I want to make sure I understand the question correctly. So is it, the question is, are people kind of feeling like it's a, transit is a good thing, so I should say I ride frequently? That's a really great question. I can't give like a definitive answer because, again, we're talking about what's on people's minds, but I do want to point out that 13% said they don't ride transit. And I think we often hear from, when we do a survey, we often hear from people sort of on both ends of the spectrum, people who are really enthusiastic transit users and people who are like, I hate trains for some reason. And I think people would probably more likely put themselves, are more likely to be in those extreme groups than the occasional riders. And I think people who say occasionally are probably folks who maybe don't use it for commute, but use it for going to a special event, going to a sports event, or something like that. That is, yeah.
Can I do one more? I'll be fast. All right, thank you. Slide 23, most riders find it easy to plan trips and navigate. And then there was a smaller group who said they struggle with it. Was there a follow-up on this question? Do we know what they're struggling with? Is it language barriers? Is it internet access barriers? Is it, is that known from this work, or is that an unknown from this work?
That is a great question. I think we can look at that a little bit more closely. We did have some questions about what people are how people are paying for their fare, how they're finding information. So we might be able to look there if there's any kind of correlations between people who said it's difficult and the tools they're using or the methods they're using and kind of where they're getting stuck. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll be done.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Director Frisbee. Director Kellogg and then Director Edwards.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for the presentation. Very informative and generally looks really good. I had a question on slide 14. If you could pull that up. That's almost 40% of frequent and regular riders would enthusiastically recommend TriMet to friends or family. How did you define frequent and regular riders? Is that the 87% that said they do ride, or is it some smaller number?
Yeah, we had another question about, it comes from the how often do you currently ride question. I would need to look up exactly the cutoff we used. I know we have, I wonder if that's a question we could have one of our team members chime in on.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm interested.
Yes.
So the slide is headlined almost 40% enthusiastically recommend. But the red box there would say almost 35%, or actually 35%, would enthusiastically not recommend.
Yeah.
And I mean, while I'm concerned about the opinions of people who don't ride the system, I think the conditions on the system of the people who regularly ride it are of great concern. And I'd like to know why 35%, if there was a why question of why you wouldn't recommend it. And I realize that's covered in some of the other data, but to physically say, I'm not going to recommend it is different than just being passive about it. So I'm concerned about that number.
Yeah, excellent question. So a couple of things to point out. This Net Promoter Score question is often used in marketing research about all sorts of things, like would you recommend the phone service you use, your shoes that you wear to friends and family. And asking that question about transit can be a little bit tricky. People might not often go around recommending their favorite bus route to friends and family. The problem with the detractors, I think it's anyone who rates, so it's a scale of 0 to 10, and anyone who rates it 6 or lower is considered a detractor. But oftentimes when people answer this question, they might give it like a 4, 5, 6 as a, I'm an in-between, but because of the way the NPS is defined, and we want to still use this often used marketing tool, anyone from a 0 to 6 is considered a detractor. So there might not be folks who are going around saying, don't ride TriMet, but just people who rated it 4, 5, 6. And maybe we can get some of that data for you as well, so you can see sort of the variation.
Yeah,
of,
see 5 and below, 4
yeah.
and below, and how that breaks out.
Yeah. And another kind of going off of your question, another thing that we've seen throughout the survey too is that people who are currently riding TriMet consistently rated more positively across almost every question we've asked. So among non-riders is really where we see sort of concerns, and we find that really interesting as well because we don't know if they have heard things about transit, they don't use it themselves, but they've heard things about it that is making them concerned, or have they had previous bad experiences and have since stayed off. Yeah, so I think that is something that we could dig into more about kind of these non-riders and what's top of mind for them.
I'll look forward to that. My second question is on page 26 of the survey. About half the respondents say they would feel safe using TriMet services. Did you ask that question in the past? And if so, have we improved?
We should have that data from previous years that we can look at, yeah.
I think it's in the expanded deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to track this question for sure next year because we've got a lot of safety and security initiatives that have recently been implemented, and I want to make sure these numbers go up so that what we're doing is making the appropriate impact.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Director Edwards?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that report. I think that was a good report and provided a lot of information. The question I have, especially in regard to our marketing, I wasn't able to pull out the different demographics and identifying by age, gender, or race the certain what the trends were. And the reason I asked that is because if that number's there, or maybe you could point it out to me, when we're marketing, and it's a lot better to have a targeted approach, I believe, than just using our money just to target everyone. I think when we target specific groups that have certain issues that need to be addressed, I think it's a better way to spend our money.
Director, we on the marketing side we do target that way, especially utilizing digital, both in digital ads as well as streaming video and radio. So we do get very targeted onto those demographics, and most of them match pretty close to what we have in the ANA. We have to also consider that we do several onboard surveys. We are conducting a customer experience survey on both Bus and Max in October, and then we'll look at that compared to the spring results, and so we kind of utilize all three data sources to determine how we do marketing for those.
Is that in this report? Because I wasn't able to pull that information out of it.
The demographic, yeah, if you go past the thank you slide in just the overview deck, I believe it's slide 35 on, has demographic information. And then all of the information, including the demographic detail, is in the expanded packet deck that you have that's like 130 some pages.
Okay. I certainly didn't see that one.
There we go. Thank you, Felicia. Okay.
I did see this here, but I didn't, I guess that just gives responses in general. Am I correct? Or does it also identify how they responded by age and gender and race?
Age, gender, and race, yes. So we're displaying that now. So if we go back one slide, you'll see age and gender. And then if we go forward a couple of slides, we'll see marital status, education, then race and income.
I guess I'm not asking my question correctly. I see those numbers, and I looked at those as well. But when you look at this particular slide here, how did the 11% that were 30 to 50,000, how did they respond to the survey? That's what I'm asking.
Gotcha. Hold on a second.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have the crosstabs available, so where we looked at key characteristics and what differences emerged in the data, and we can definitely provide that. We've done it kind of overall with some of the groups, but also we've created like a BIPOC category and a low-income household category, so you can really draw some comparisons based on those kind of key demographic characteristics. And happy to provide that information.
Well, thank you. Yes, because that's what I was trying to get to, is that when we're identifying certain demographics, we want to know how they respond, and maybe their responses were certainly different than another demographic, and so that lets us know better how we should approach that particular demographic as well. So I think that makes it a lot more comprehensive for us. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, thank you at this time for the work that you've done. It's real important. As you can see, the focus of the board is on safety, security, demographics, layout, and our ridership. I think you'll be working with the general manager to provide the board with some additional information. Thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm going to return to the general manager for continuing your report.
Thank you.
Excellent work, though.
Thank you, President, and board members. Lonnie and PRR, thank you for being here today. So moving on now, the advisory committees play a crucial role in helping TriMet shape what we do. To support committee members and acknowledge the burden that can come with their volunteer participation, we've recently launched a stipend program, and eligible members have opted into the program. They'll receive $50 per eligible meeting they attend. Committee members are only eligible to receive a stipend if they are not being compensated by any other organization for their participation, and they cannot be a government employee. So I'm really proud, very proud of this program. We're beginning to offer this program, and I just want to mention later this year, we're looking at coming back to the board and talking with the board about this with you. Our board is volunteer, and they volunteer their services to provide us and our community. So it'll be something that I'll be talking with the board about in the latter part of this year. And then finally this morning, I want to turn to operator recognition. I'm really thrilled right now to introduce to you our 2024 Operators of the Year. We've announced the winners during our first ever Employee Choice Awards at our TriMet's Family Fun Day earlier this month. As we do each year, we're recognizing in front of the board those operators who were selected as the best of the best. These operators earned the nomination based on their commendable job performance, but these awards are incredibly special because the winners are chosen by their peers. So let's start with bus for a moment. TriMet's 2024 Full-Time Bus Operator of the Year is Operator Casey, who joins us this morning. Riders and coworkers alike love Operator Casey, someone they say that can always depend on, who brightens up everyone's day. We've previously recognized this outstanding operator with Perfect Attendance Awards and multiple commendations for customer service. So, Operator Casey, thank you very much. TriMet's, yes. So TriMet's 2024 Mini-Run or part-time bus operator is Ruth Malberg. Ruth was unable to join us this morning. She's been with us for more than 23 years, and this is actually Ruth's second Operator of the Year award. She previously received the award in 2008. So let's give her a big round of applause. Next, our 2024 Max Operator of the Year is Shayna Peck. And Shayna has been with TriMet just 2 years, but she has already shown herself to be an exemplary employee. She has perfect attendance and has already earned a Superior Performance Award. So let's give Shayna congratulations. And then next, while our Portland streetcar is run by the city of Portland, the streetcar operators are TriMet employees. So this year, we have expanded our Operator of the Year honors, and our first ever streetcar Operator of the Year is David Horner. So David, congratulations from you as well. Board, what I do want to say is that since joining the streetcar team in 2008, David has become the go-to person to now help new employees learn the ropes, and he's been a great representative for TriMet and this partnership with the city. So let's thank all of our Operators of the Year for your commitment and your dedication to the job and our riders and the safety of our community. But before we go to the board, I want to give our operators an opportunity to say a few words if they would like, and then we'll go to the board as well. So anything that you would like to say to the board? Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Thank you so much.
I just appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'm excited to see where I grow within TriMet.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I've been with TriMet now almost 20 years, pretty close. And I've been at Streetcar for over 16. At Streetcar, I'm known as Papa Dave. And when I'm in the streetcar, I'm known as Santa. I don't know why. But TriMet has always been good to me, and the opportunities they offer to their people. We got a great TriMet manager now that has brought streetcar back into TriMet, and Steve at Stratford, and couldn't ask for any better guy. As for you, Mr. DeSuze, I want to thank you. For the longest time, it was us against them, and you have bridged that gap. It's not that way anymore. So I want to thank you for that.
So President Lewis, board, any comments from you?
First, I think we can do better on the thank you. Let us stand and do thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite the Board of Directors for comments, thoughts, feedback. Director Frisbee, okay.
I just want to echo everyone's thank yous. And Dave, I will also say, actually, I specifically remember you as a streetcar operator because my son and I got on sometime last year during the holiday season, and he did ask me if you were related to Santa. So it is a common theme. But on a more serious note, I did want to pick up on your comment of sort of trying to restructure from an us versus them to a community-driven place. And Sam, I think the board, that is reflected in your review. That is such an important transition. But for all of you, that is one of, I think, our guiding lights as a board, because we are all here to serve the same community and the same people, and that we can do it with you and supporting you makes it so much more important. So thank you so much for everything you do. It really does matter, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. Any other comments? Director Edwards?
I think Director Frisbee said it very well. I'm just going to say ditto.
Thank you. I would like to say and point out that when we were doing our general manager's review, top of the priority list for him was the employees and staff and how he worked to make sure that your work was safe and that you were commended on the work that you have done and will continue to do. Just thank you again for being the best of the best of the best. Keep being the best. And hopefully there's a watch or, gold stars and all those great things that happen for employee excellence. I mean, that's awesome. You probably will have lots of plaques. Those go to grandkids, and you share the stories of your work with TriMet. Thank you for being part of our family. You are family. Thank you, and for helping us be the best of the best. Thank you.
So President Lewis, before we go, we'd like to take a picture, take a moment with the board. But I want to say this to our employees that are sitting here. You are the front line that represents us every single day out there. And I want you to hear directly from the leader of the organization and every leader that's in this room here on how much we appreciate what you do for our community, how you make people's lives better every single day on what you're doing. And I'm absolutely proud to be with you and for you at all times. There is no us versus them. This is about us all together. So congratulations, and I just thank you for that statement.
And then operators in the middle, please. Operators in the middle, please. Unfortunately, we're not going to have Director Edwards.
I might be.
Step in.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for recognizing our Streetcar Max bus and mini run high peak performers. For the board members, well, we want to thank the general manager for conclusion of your report. Thank you. Okay, now at this time, we're going to return our attention to the consent agenda for today's meeting. This is where I read a lot. Items appearing on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. This morning, the consent agenda includes 4 items: approving the minutes of our last board meeting for July 24. Wow, it's been a while. We did skip a month there. We had a little break time. Resolution 1240946, authorizing a modification to the Mass Electric Construction Company contract for CMGC services for Pioneer Courthouse Square Type 1 traction power substation replacement project. Number 2, resolution number 240947, authorizing a contract modification with Coney for elevator and lift maintenance and repair services. And resolution 240948, authorizing a contract modification with Trapeze for lift paratransit scheduling, software licensing, and maintenance. Does any director at this time wish to have any item removed from the consent agenda? And I notice we've lost Director Edwards. Oh, okay.
Not long.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll turn our time now to our regular agenda resolutions. Oh, let me get my page over. Okay, our next resolution is Resolution 240949, authorizing execution of a new working and wage agreement with the ATU. Mr. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
Again, President Lewis, members of the board, I'm thrilled to bring the new working wage agreement before you this morning. We've referred to this as a landmark agreement that brings new benefit to our union employees while bolstering TriMet's ability to expand service and improve the customer experience. I absolutely commend everyone that was involved with the negotiations of this contract. From the start of bargaining to ATU ratification was just about 8 months. And I want to repeat that again. From the start of bargaining to ATU ratification was just about 8 months. That's about half of the time of the average bargaining periods for the last 4 contracts. And this is incredible. This new contract agreement includes a 13.64% wage increase over 4 years, starting with a 4% raise this December. And that is really just the beginning of the contract. So with that, I want to turn it over to Nate Holton, Director of Labor Relations, to really provide a look at what's inside the agreement. But first, I want to express my thanks and my thank you to ATU President Bruce Hanson and ATU Vice President Henry Beasley, who worked hard after the retirement of Shirley Block starting July 1st forward to talk to union members to facilitate a more robust vote across TriMet facilities, and finally got the vote to approve the new agreement that's before you. My greatest thanks to them and their leadership Well done. So now let's really take a look on what's inside of the agreement, that among other things, that includes a new child subsidy and access to annual tuition reimbursement. So Nate, I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Manager Sue, and thank you for having me today. To execute the newly negotiated working and wage agreement between TriMet and ATU 757. In this presentation, I'll provide a brief overview of the bargaining process, as well as some of the goals that we had in mind during the process, and then the outcomes of that process. Next slide, please. So just a basic overview. We are fortunate to have one union at TriMet, which is ATU Local 757. It is relatively unique to have just one union in a transit district and makes it a more robust collective bargaining process when we're just negotiating with the one union. They represent about 75% of our employees, 2,600 plus in all. And we are regulated in this process by Oregon state law, particularly PECBA, the Public Employee Collective Bargaining Act. And the long and short of that is that we bargain for up to or more than 150 days. And hopefully we reach an agreement. If we do not reach an agreement, we can go to mediation. If mediation doesn't result in an agreement, we can go to binding arbitration. And in a binding arbitration situation, each party would provide their last best final offer, and the arbitrator would choose one of those offers in their entirety. And the way that this is set up works very well for relationship with the union, because it really encourages both sides to find that middle ground and reach an agreement. Next slide, please. As Sam mentioned, we started and got to ratification in a period of 8 months, which is about half as long as normal. And with execution of this agreement, we will be about 2 months early in terms of when the current agreement expires. And typically TriMet is 1 to 2 years after expiration of the existing agreement. So we did this early. The key to any successful and impactful collaborative effort like this one starts with relationships. And you guys mentioned it before, this isn't us versus them. This is us working collaboratively. This is us finding common ground, figuring out where our interests align, and then mining that. And then it's also really focusing on what matters most. So on the ATU side, there are over 2,600 individuals and over 2,600 opinions and sets of priorities. And then on our side, there's many different priorities as well. It's very easy in a traditional bargaining process to get bogged down in trivial matters, to get bogged down in relationship issues if the relationship is not strong. We cleared the way with that at Sam's lead and direction, have a good relationship, maintain it, and now leverage it to have a swift process that resulted in a good agreement. Next slide, please. So bargaining goals, really there's one goal, which is generate more and better service sustainably. These are the 4 areas through the context of the contract that we attempt to help TriMet with that goal. And number 1 is employee retention. The better we do with employee retention, the faster we can grow service at the end of the day. So that was priority number 1 in contract negotiations. And then you have to have the ability to equip and deploy employees in a way that is effective and efficient, which is number 2, management agility. How can we succeed in reducing bureaucracy and being able to deploy resources where they need, when we need them, in a way that really improves service for the folks that ride TriMet. And then number 3 is sustainable TriMet ATU relations. Again, going back to the importance of the relationship. When we can work well together, we can set aside trivial differences and focus on the future at TriMet and our shared interests in having a strong system going forward. And then lastly, long-term stability, which includes obviously finances, but also long-term risk mitigation and long-term generation of future opportunities for service growth and just a better service. Now, all that said, we all know that contracts are also about money, and so we'll cut to the chase on the major economic items. So the top line across the board there, 13.64% over 4 years, 4.333 a year in the next 4 years. That's commensurate with peer systems across the United States. Right now, the median raise is about 3.5%, excuse me, across the United States. So we're kind of within that zone. And then that second item is an important one, increasing wages for certain journey worker positions. So our maintenance of way journey worker positions are the top paid journey worker positions at TriMet. And what we're doing over the life of the contract is equalizing all of those journey worker wages, which will help us retain and attract other maintenance journey worker positions, including LRV and bus mechanics. So that's an important one for us. That third bullet point, the 70 cents, that is for any employee in transportation, which is primarily operators, once they hit 8 years of service. So we look at incentives to stay at TriMet, retention. We have the deferred contribution with a 3-year vesting period. We have raises that occur in those first few years, so a strong incentive on that 0 to 3 years. In creating the 70 cent at the 8 years really helps us give folks in that 3 to 8 year an incentive to stay. And then we look at data and we know that once people get to 8 years at TriMet, chances are they're sticking around longer. So we're trying to kind of bridge that sort of donut hole in the retention data with that 70 cent hour longevity premium. The tool allowance increase is another benefit for maintenance employees, and we stretched out those increases over the life of the contract as another incentive to stick around because it's going up again in 2026. And we did that same thing with the defined contribution increase, an immediate raise of 1 percentage point. Once this contract is executed, a second 1% increase in 2027 at the end of the year, which will then match union employees with non-union employees at the 10% company defined contribution contribution. Next slide, please. So other efforts on retention, the big one here is the AMPM board for operators. So our operators either have kind of standard shifts or they are on what we call an extra board where their work changes from day to day. About 1/4 of our operators are on an extra board where their work is not predictable. One day they start really early, the next day they start really late. It's very challenging to have work-life balance in that situation. We also see that our operator retention is worse in the 0 to 6 month range, and our extra board is disproportionately new operators. And so, those folks have a very challenging time with our current system to just balance working at TriMet with everything else going on in their life. And that is a big deal for our operators. And so instituting an AMPM board, what that does for us is it guarantees that an operator will either not have to work before 11 a.m. or not have to work after 8 p.m. There will be variability within that, but that's something that they can take to the bank so that they can plan on who's going to watch their children and what they're going to do, everything else in their life with that. This is a heavy lift for the organization. We're currently bringing in and adopting new software to be able to accomplish this with an expectation of implementing in winter of 2025. It's an exciting thing. It's something we've tried to do before and have not been successful in negotiations. So something that we expect to tangibly impact operator retention going forward. The other items are also wonderful for our employees, bringing back the tuition reimbursement, which TriMet got rid of kind of during the Great Recession era as a cost-cutting strategy. What's wonderful about it is that it's very well targeted towards employees who really want to better themselves and grow and move up at TriMet and just in their lives in general. And so we're really excited about that. We know that future leaders of TriMet are going to be going through that program, and they're going to stick around. In order for someone to have eligibility for that, they have to be at TriMet for 3 years first. So again, with the retention strategy, getting to that vesting period, now going forward every year, you can get up to $5,250 in tuition reimbursement. The child care subsidy is another big deal. We know that child care is an enormous issue for everybody, including our employees, and really, putting something into place to provide an extra incentive to work at TriMet for individuals with families is a big deal for us. It also helps incentivize employees to use our dependent care FSA system. It requires that they put a modest contribution into that in order to get this access. So it kind of ensures that they have some skin in the game in this as well, and taking advantage of getting a child care subsidy. We wanted to correct some of our issues related to minimal time off for brand new employees and just kind of how that works. And so we added 2 floating holidays for everybody, but it's really focused on new employees so that out the gate they at least have something as they start to ramp up their vacation. We also wanted to take care of our most senior employees and provide another incentive for folks to stay at TriMet for a long time. Anybody with 15 plus years is getting an extra week of vacation. So it's something to look forward to for anybody that's not yet at that 15 years as well. Increase some 410 shifts as another strategy for work-life balance. And also increase paid military leave. We're currently at the state mandated 15 days. We're increasing it to 21 days, which is something that the state of Oregon does for its employees currently. Next slide, please. In terms of management agility, the big one there is we reformed our attendance policy. So our current attendance policy precedes the existence of FEMLA, and it's something that has allowed some employees to not show up to work quite a lot, and has been a struggle for the organization in some ways. And so we've really reformed that to provide us opportunities to ensure that folks come to work, which the vast majority of our employees do. The utility service aide and utility parts person is an ability to move resources around the district. If we have cleanliness issues or other issues in different areas of the district, we now have more flexibility in moving people around to address those issues rapidly. The designing operator runs for Forward Together is about continuing to increase weekend service sort of as a % of overall service and having more flexibility as we do that, because traditionally we've had less service on the weekends and tighter restrictions in how we can design that service. We've loosened that up a little bit in order to better accommodate Forward Together service changes. And then lastly, flexibility in maintenance training programs, doing everything that we can to ensure that we are allowing interested individuals internally to successfully become journey workers and work through training programs. So we've opened that up in a variety of ways, and we expect that that'll pay dividends going forward. In terms of sustainable TriMet ATU relations, this top one is, a passion of mine. It is a very boring issue for most people, but it's something that it's something that matters a great deal for sustainable TriMet ATU relations, which is ensuring that our grievance process works cleanly. The grievance process is sort of the electrical and plumbing of the house that is the relationship of TriMet and ATU. It's boring, but it's important, and it's critically important to the employees that go through it. So when I came to TriMet, we inherited a large backlog of grievances, about 600 of them. We've cut out 2/3 of those, and we're going to cut out the rest with the new ATU leadership. And now going forward, as we've seen over the history of TriMet, that backlog ebb and flow with the relationship, we've put in place some timelines to ensure that we are now obligated to move this stuff through the system cleanly so that employees feel represented. They may not always like the result of the grievance process, but they'll be able to see that they were represented and heard in that process in a timely fashion. So that's an important one. We have some collaborative committees with AMPM board and health and welfare issues that ensure that we work together on those specific issues. We increased the recreation fund, which is a pot of money that we give to ATU every year that they primarily use to have a picnic for employees. We're facilitating ATU's ability to provide their employees with voluntary long-term disability insurance by working with payroll to do that. And then we're encouraging managers to work with ATU with folks who are on probation who may be trending towards not making it out of probation to really work with ATU early to try and help that employee make it to probation and be a successful employee at TriMet. Next slide, please. Long-term stability. So obviously our public safety function has grown significantly in the last handful of years. We've recognized that in the contract with a new article specifically for public safety that gives them some structure going forward and a foundation to build on over time. So as we see that function continue to grow more and more sophisticated, bigger and bigger, it'll have a place in the contract and avenue for those discussions with ATU. We cleaned up a lot of outdated language in the contract just to clean it up and take away things that may be confusing that are no longer relevant so that future bargaining teams don't get caught up in that stuff. We formalized facilities mandatory overtime so that we can be ensured that, you know, any hour of any day, if there's a facilities emergency, we have the ability to get people there to deal with the emergency. And then last but not least, the 4-year contract, which gets us unaligned with the ATU election cycle and provides future bargaining teams the opportunity to build a relationship with ATU and any potential new leadership before engaging in contract negotiations, which is critical to having a successful negotiation. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I want to give a shout out to the labor relations team. Mike Dodd, Jennifer Goodrich, John Farmer, Emily Wallace, Joanne Eden, who are phenomenal and amazing. And also just, we had a large cast of folks involved in contract negotiations, subject matter experts throughout the organization who were critical in getting this process to work well. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we move to comments, I'd like to see, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240949?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? Okay. Director Kellogg.
Thank you very much for your presentation, for your work on this. Looks like a generational change, and the agreement is very positive. I have one specific question. I noticed cleaning up outdated language. There's on page 48, Article 2, employee classifications. We had something, pardon me, on fair inspectors.
Yep.
Has that been moved to the new Article 7 for public safety?
Yes, it has. So their new job title is customer safety supervisors, and they are now in the public safety article.
Okay, and just a question for clarification. Is fair inspection the exclusive province of union employees, or are non-union employees allowed to do that?
So historically, transit police have also been able to engage in fair inspection. Mm-hmm. And there have been other unionized work groups that have also historically engaged in some amount of fair inspection.
Okay, but the folks that we're hiring as non-uniformed officers, they don't have that ability?
Presently, they do not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Director Frisbee.
Edwards, both Edwards. Thank you very much, President Lewis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the ATU leadership team. Thank you to everyone involved. This represents a massive amount of work and good faith effort to come to the table. And so I really want to highlight that. I had just a few small comments, and I know we all have things to say, but first of all, I know it is going to be a big lift, but switching to the AM/PM approach seems like such a needed and important step. I've had so many conversations with new operators who just the exhaustion and unpredictability of that schedule is really tiring and sort of disheartening. And as a working parent myself, I cannot imagine not knowing my schedule 2 weeks ahead of time. It would cause me to completely melt down. So I'm so glad we are taking this important step, and thank you to you and your team for doing that. Similarly, I will also just note on the childcare perspective, I am very glad we are offering support for childcare. I think there is a North Star somewhere in our future of on-site childcare facilities. I know that is a deeply complicated effort. I'm probably making Shelley nervous. She thinks about childcare liability insurance. You know, just when I think about what we can offer folks who are dealing with those less unpredictable, but still a little unpredictable schedules, that I hope that is a North Star for us somewhere in our future. My last comment is small, but speaking of modernizing language, as I read through the agreement, I noticed there are, I think, 3 instances where we have a very gendered approach to some of the language, just specifically only looking at 2 genders. And I would hope that in future efforts to clean that up, we can change that so that all of our folks feel like they are part of this agreement. And that is it. Thank you for your work, and this is very exciting.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. Director Edwards.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you for the negotiation, excuse me, attitude. And I really want to thank the general manager. I know when he first came on board, even as interim, he started building on that relationship with the ATU. And as you see now, it is bearing fruit. So I can't applaud the general manager enough. Thank you so much, Sam. And thank you for also spreading that to your team, your negotiating team, so they had a better understanding. I know that it just makes a huge difference, not only in the running of TriMet and the efficiency of TriMet, but also it's a template for other government or quasi-government agencies to adopt and see what a difference it makes when labor and management can work together, knowing that they're all on the same team. So I want to thank you for that. I had a question in regard to retention. How much of, how many employees, or what is the percentage of employees out of those that we lose that are attributed to either drug or alcohol abuse? I guess I would like to look at those numbers, and I would hope that perhaps from that, we would take a different attitude in regards to perhaps ATU and TriMet working jointly to lobby our federal representatives to work on that. I wouldn't want to ride on a public transportation and know that someone has abused drugs or alcohol, but at the same time, people do make mistakes, and we can't just toss them away and say that, you know, they no longer exist or they have to find another vocation. I think it's important for us to be concerned about that. There's a way to make that happen, I believe, that will certainly benefit not only our TriMet, but also the ATU and our community as well. So I just wanted to share that. And but again, thank you very much for your efforts in getting this done. And I hope that that it continues with a collaborative relationship between ATU and TriMet.
General Manager.
Director Edwards, we will definitely follow up critical points that you've made. I will get with the HR executive and we'll follow up with the stats on that, and then kind of our approach on what TriMet has taken on that. I do want to elaborate as well, and I don't think I got a chance to say, I can't say enough about Nate and his labor relations team, and I didn't get a chance to say that in my comments. And I want to just say that to you, Nate, how much we appreciate you as an organization and you coming in and kind of taking the helm of our labor relations department and moving forward. And I also want to say thank you to building a very strong labor relations team to be able to carry that mantle as well. And then I'll be remiss to not say also to Kim Sewell, our executive, I want to just say thank you as well for building that team and putting it in place and getting us to this moment in our history.
Thank you. Director Kim.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say thanks to Sam and the entire TriMet leadership and everyone who had a hand in this. Bravo, getting it to the finish line. Really happy about the win-win approach yet again. So it's a really not just win for the management and win for the labor, but it's a win for the community because we get to continue on with the services that we provide. So thank you, and I also look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Before I call for a vote, I would just like to say that relationship and relationship building is everything. And I'm learning that quickly because it's a passion of mine with my relationship with the board. The board's not a union, but you listen well, and you listen to the needs. And I just want to also add, I'm very, very happy that education is back. The investment in staff, employees, the organization is huge. And hopefully every organization our size in the state of Oregon would have an educational program. Thank you for bringing that back. Also, listening to my board, retention was another key area in what our programs are. So it was good to see the slide in that the union is approaching retention on that side, as well as the board's focus on how we engage and build retention. That is another strong backbone for our organization, is going forward and retaining a good program for our employees. And thank you, General Manager, for following up on Director Keefe's comments. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Kim. Thank you to your entire team. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next we have Resolution 240950, authorizing a modification of the SimWaves sorry, shouldn't read my side notes there. Contract for Next Generation Transit Signal Priority Implementation Services. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
Yeah, thanks, President Lewis, members of the board. In June of 2021, the board authorized a 5-year, $3.3 million contract with Light to implement Next Generation Transit Signal Priority to improve TriMet service. TSP is vital for enhancing the speed and reliability of transit. It helps make public transit more competitive option in Portland, aligning with our shared regional goals of mobility, safety, and climate resilience. TriMet cloud-based TSP system was one of its first kind in the United States and North America. And we launched in September of 2022 with our first TriMet FX, or Frequent Express transit line, which is FX2 division. And TSP has been highly effective on our FX2. We are now looking into the future to extend TSP capabilities, including our upcoming FX service, along 82nd Avenue. So I've asked A.J. O'Connor, who's at the table here, he's our Director of Intelligent Transport Systems, to provide additional detail. So A.J., I'll just turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. So I think I've talked about TSP before the board, but we'll have a little primer. Next slide, please. So at its basic functionality, TSP is a system that creates a connection between our buses and traffic signals. It allows for the lengthening of green and the shortening of red in its most simplest terms of light. And the cloud-based TSP system that this resolution is asking for approval, and the next one that you'll see on the agenda, are about moving this new type of TSP forward in our region. Next slide, please. So it's important to know what this new cloud-based TSP system doesn't do. And we have real-life experience on Division that shows that it does not cause additional delay for cyclists or pedestrians. It has shown, when we did a study where we turned it off for several weeks, we saw a significant reduction in fuel. So we know that when TSP is running, we also have the added benefit of reducing our carbon footprint. And it also allows for improved safety. We're able to get buses through, we're not blocking movements. It increases the overall reliability of the routes that we've implemented it on. Next slide, please. How does this new TSP system work? Basically, we take everything that we know about the bus and we're sending it to the cloud, in this case, Light, our vendor, who uses that data and then is able to provide to our traffic partners, PBOT, ODOT, and the City of Gresham, for example, on Division, an estimated time of arrival. And that, we're able to provide that on average around 90 seconds before the bus gets there. And we're able to do that with this new system for 3 intersections in a row. And that is a huge benefit over the old system that is currently in use in most of our area. That gives the traffic partners enough time to serve all the other modes, get the intersection ready for our bus to arrive. And that is a huge leap forward in functionality. Next slide, please. What else is different about this new TSP system versus the old? The old was line of sight, or still is line of sight and is in use. So like I said, the signal only has a much smaller time to react to the bus and process our request for priority. That's one disadvantage of the old system. The other big jump forward with this new system is Light uses machine learning or artificial intelligence. It's a kind of artificial intelligence to learn and improve that estimated time of arrival over a period of time. So it begins to learn, for example, if there's a dialysis center near one of the stops and that there's a large number of people coming and going from that area and it causes the bus to dwell a little longer, it learns that. It learns when school's in session and it picks all that up and improves that estimated time of arrival as it goes. Next, I think is the next slide? I think that was it, yeah, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Before we move to questions, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240950?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? And questions for presenter? Director Frisbee?
My only comment is that I hope we see you back here before 2031 with a request for additional funding, because we are moving forward as quickly as possible with all of this. So, and that I think we cannot do enough to talk to people about how beneficial this is. This TSP benefits drivers, it benefits people walking, it benefits people biking, it absolutely benefits people on the bus. It is such an incredible investment in the system overall. Sometimes it's a little bit hard that it feels like TriMet bears more of the burden in implementing it when all of our partners are experiencing those benefits. But I really hope we see you back because you have used all of this money building out the system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. Director Kellogg?
Thank you very much. So in the memo for this, talks about the study, found round-trip travel times decreased by up to 8.2 minutes when the system was turned on. Is that 8.2 minutes only for buses?
Yes.
Okay. So in the presentation slide on, I think, the second or third page, there's an orange box that says, and you mentioned, signal priority does not cause delay for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. So with the same amount of cars on the road, how do we save 8.2 minutes without causing delay to the other modes of travel? What type of sorcery is at work here?
Well, I think particularly not causing delay to other auto traffic is talking about cross traffic, because the big fear going in when you implement this is you're going to hold that green and you're going to block the traffic on the side. And with that 3 intersection ahead and then specific logic that PBOT implemented at their controllers, it allows, if you're on the cross street, you don't notice it. It seems like it's a normal functioning. They're cycling through and clearing the intersection, and the improved service is really in the vehicles that are in the direction of travel behind the bus.
So it's an increase in efficiency. Other lights were green for too long, or am I getting that correct?
Yeah, it's an increase in efficiency, and they're not holding it longer. Let me see if I can answer this way. The opposite of what you're asking is we have a bus that's on the near side and it's stopped and it's holding the light green forever. That's what's not happening, because we're able to give really great estimated times of arrival when it gets there.
Excellent.
I don't know if that, I hope that answered your question.
Best of luck.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Circle back to the General Manager for a few final comments.
Thanks, President. Want to just say that we're in a national spotlight here again. AJ and his team just had Columbus, Ohio, down visiting what we're doing here and how we're getting ready to move towards the cloud base with TSP. But I want to say, if approved, the increased amount would bring this total contract value to $10.3 million and really extend the term of the contract to June of 2031. And I heard Director Frisbee's point, AJ, so take heed on that. The cost of each expansion will be included in the budgets for FX and also our better bus projects. And then the cost of ongoing licensing will be included in the information technology budget. So I strongly recommend your approval.
Okay, seeing no other comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Stay with the next.
Next, we have Resolution 240951, authorizing contracts with Citizen Engineers and DKS Associates for engineering consulting support services for the Next Generation Traffic Signal Priority Expansion Project. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
Thanks, President Lewis, and board members. TriMet and regional traffic agency partners, PBOT, ODOT, and the City of Gresham are working to expand the TSP system in our region. So as previously mentioned by AJ, the 82nd Avenue Transit Project will be TriMet's next frequent express bus line and will benefit from this technology. So traffic engineering analysis is needed to support design decisions regarding where and how to implement the TSP for the greatest benefit. As TriMet lacks in-house traffic engineering staff to carry out these tasks, we need to contract these services. And after receiving proposals through an RFP, TriMet determined that both citizen engineers and also DKS associates were qualified and best suited to provide the services needed. So we are seeking authorization to issue contracts with each company for a 5-year term with a cap of $5 million each. Expenditures will be based on TriMet's task orders for the work. The funds for each on-call task will be provided by TSP expansion project as individual work is approved and also funded. So taking a quick look at diversity of the workforce of these firms, DKS Associates has 141 people in its workforce, 41% are female, and more than a quarter represents minority groups. They plan to use subcontractors for about 5% of their work. For Citizens Engineers is in the process of obtaining its Emerging Small Business Certification with Oregon's Certification Office for Business Inclusions and Diversity, or COBIT. Its workforce is 33% female and 33% non-binary. I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager. Before I ask for comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240951?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Now we will consider Resolution 240952, authorizing a lease with the Round Owner LLC for a security office at 4145 Southwest Watson Avenue in Beaverton. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
Thanks, President Lewis and members of the board. As we continue to build up our contracted security force, we need more space. And TriMet has significantly expanded our unarmed contract safety and security personnel to enhance safety as well as the overall customer experience of riding. Currently, we have more than 430 security and safety professionals, more than doubling the number of unarmed security on staff since the start of 2022. These safety and security personnel reports out of operational facilities, which are at or near capacity, limiting our ability for effective deployment and space for training. So to improve efficiencies, TriMet plans to lease 3 new security offices, one in Beaverton, one in Central Portland, and one in Gresham. These offices will be strategically located near MAX lines, and they will facilitate daily operations, training, and administrative tasks for our safety and security personnel. We have selected a prime location at the Round in Beaverton. It's adjacent to our light rail lines and offers TriMet 6,700 square feet of space with a lease term of 65 months and a total rent obligation of about $1.18 million. So TriMet seeks board approval for the Beaverton lease to finalize terms and initiate construction. So we anticipate completing a setup by early 2025. And if it is approved, we would like to take the board out to really look at the setup, allowing us to really better serve the West Side community and really improving overall safety. In addition to this lease, the resolution before you authorizes about $550,000 in tenant improvement costs. And a portion of this amount is included in our TriMet budget, our FY 2025 budget. And then going forward, the annual payments will be included in TriMet's budget for leased facilities. And I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager. Before we hear comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240952?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? Okay. Okay, Director Kellogg.
Thank you. So a question, comparing this resolution with the next, the lease in Beaverton versus the lease essentially in this building, I noticed the rate per square foot's exactly the same. So is that a reflection of the decrease in rental value per square foot in downtown Oregon or downtown Portland, or a high rent in Beaverton?
I'm Lance Ers, Director of Real Estate and Transitory Development. I would say it's both. As it says in the resolution, in Beaverton, there were not many spaces available on light rail. So the Round, as you probably know, is a higher-end building in Beaverton. So we're paying toward the top of the market in Beaverton as best we can negotiate. As you also know, the One Main Place lease is a good deal for TriMet, and downtown Portland is, not quite what it used to be as far as the rental market. So I would say it's both. We believe we got a fair market rate out in Beaverton. Would have maybe liked to have done a little bit better if we had some more options that were realistic, but we just didn't. So we had to go with the Round, which like I said, is probably toward the top of the market in Beaverton.
Okay, and then there's a third lease that will be considered at a later time for the Gresham?
There's going to be two more, one in Gresham and one in Central Portland. So we're currently looking for sites for those two leases, which hopefully in the next few months you'll see us come back for those.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. We have a question from Director Edwards.
Thank you. My question is, does this take into consideration in the expansion, maybe perhaps 10 years, 15 years down the road?
I would say no, it doesn't. This was the last space available at this building in the Round. It's 6,700 square feet, which meets our current needs, and it's a 5-year lease. So if we did want to expand in the future, we'd either have to hope for some movement, availability in the Round, or find another location.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director Edwards. I would like to just add a comment that I think this is a great step in our safety and security beyond the trains, the buses, but actually having a location, especially for Gresham and even the downtown when those come in, when you bring those before us. It gives the public a chance to, especially the one for Beaverton, if you're downtown taking care of other business and you had a thought, concern, or issue on the train a month ago, you can at least stop by the office. Hopefully other business can be had by our public so that they not only see us on the train, but see us in a physical presence. That's an additional presence along our lines. I think it's definitely a win-win, and I'm really happy that we're doing that. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll now consider Resolution 240953, authorizing an amendment to the current lease with Madison OFC, One Main Place, Oregon LLC for TriMet's administrative office space. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
Thanks, President Lewis, and members of the board. As you may recall, I required all of TriMet administrative staff to work in the office at least 3 days per week, beginning this past July. While most administrative employees have the option of up to 2 days working remotely, many are actually in the office throughout the full work week. The return to the office has sparked better collaborations and a stronger community, but it also has amplified to all of us a need for more space within the building, especially here at One Main Place. So the original board-approved lease for our new administrative headquarters here was 95,000 square feet of space. In September 2023, the board authorized an amendment to add 11,000 square feet for our new boardroom, which we are in today, and additional workspaces that's on this floor here for 40 employees. Now we're asking for your approval to add about 18,400 square feet to the lease, as the current office space is insufficient for the employees now working in office. And it's going to bring our total leased space at One Main Place to about 118,580 square feet. A very important note here is that when we initially began looking for a new location for our administrative headquarters back in 2019, the projected need was about 120,000 square feet. But if you remember, we had people working at home less time during that time. So we are essentially expanding to the amount of space that we identified as necessary before the pandemic, and with this boardroom in addition to that. So we are fortunate, and want to thank Lance and his team. We're fortunate to have the same favorable economic terms for some of the expanded space as we had with our original lease. But part of this new space will have slightly different terms due to the relocation cost for some of the existing tenants. We've requested board approval so that we can finalize the lease terms and allow construction to begin as soon as possible, as our needs exist right now. So we are targeting the completion for early 2025 as we move forward, and we'll bring the board back in to look at some of that if you so approve this. This amendment will add approximately $7.7 million to our lease, bringing the total amount of the full 134 months, a little bit over 11 years, to about $45 million total. This resolution also includes about $950,000 for tenant improvement costs, and a portion of this additional amount is in our TriMet's FY25 budget. Going forward, this annual payment will be included in TriMet's budget for lease facilities, and I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager. Before we move to comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240953?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Welcome home.
More butts and seats.
Okay, now we will consider Resolution 240954, authorizing a contract with Schlecke Northwest Sales for the purchase of 30 replacement vehicles for TriMet Lift. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution?
President Lewis, board members, TriMet Lift provides vital, and I mean absolute vital paratransit services for some of the most vulnerable in our community. And to provide that service, we have 268 lift-equipped minibuses that are all powered by gasoline and diesel. renewable diesel, I should say, on that. Each vehicle is retired at about 9 years of use, and to keep Lyft services reliable for our customers. So over the past 2 fiscal years, we have successfully replaced 84 vehicles. And for this year, we have budget authority to replace 10 more. But due to this new exciting development, we now have the opportunity to replace 30 vehicles this year. TriMet recently received a grant from ODOT for $3.8 million to support the vehicle replacement. And the grant only required a 10.27% local match, dramatically bringing down the cost of these vehicles for TriMet. If the board authorizes the resolution, we will be able to purchase the 30 Lyft vehicles by taking advantage of the $4.3 million in grant funds from the new ODOT grant and additional state and federal grants previously identified. So TriMet match will total $1.15 million, and the total contract with Chetke will be for $5.45 million. So securing these vehicles does a couple of things. Not only capitalize on the state and federal grant money that we receive, but it also mitigates the risk of further price hikes. And one of the things that we're faced with is inflation and supply chain issues. So it will also mitigate the supply chain issue disruption that we have. These new vehicles will use unleaded gasoline, want to call it out, as all major manufacturers have stopped the production of diesel fuel chassis that meet our service demands. And the contract amount is included in our budget, and we're looking at the firm's diversity, which Chetke has 68 employees, 27% of whom are minorities, and 12% are females. And I recommend your approval.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Before I ask for comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240954?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone have or wish to have comments on this vote? Director Frisbee?
Thank you very much, President Lewis. This is an exciting moment, and I want to make a quick comment, and then I had a question, hoping that you can remind the board of discussions we've had previously. First, big picture, it's exciting to see us use this opportunity to piggyback on other agreements. With ODOT, the briefing memo also mentions the pricing agreement with the state of Washington. I hope this is something that we can pursue in other areas, particularly with rolling stock. And I really, to the FTA gods, hope that that is something that they can enable and support across the country, because particularly in this supply chain moment, it is a huge opportunity. I'm glad we're taking advantage of it. My actual question is, when the board approved a resolution to order more, to buy gasoline, I believe 6 months ago, thank you. God, almost a year. Okay. We discussed a little bit the plan and the approach towards moving our Lyft vehicles to more sustainable, environmentally friendly, carbon neutral vehicles. Can you remind us all of that plan and some of the challenges?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Eileen Collins, I'm the Director of Accessible Transportation Programs. Thanks for having me here. Our plan is to continue assessing the vehicles available that will meet our daily service requirements. Electric is most likely is the best option for us at this point if we were to move in that direction. Currently, the electric vehicles designed for this level of service have about 125-mile battery life. Our buses drive at least 200 miles a day, so it would mean that we would almost need to double the fleet in order to have a full day, and then if inefficiencies with shifting vehicles midday. So we're continuing to evaluate the vehicles available and working actively with Penske and their sort of national lobby to say, hey, we need more research done, more work done to get vehicles that can meet the daily needs, because this is what the industry is faced with. It's either CNG, propane, or electric at this point for paratransit vehicles. We're really excited to see what's happening in the hydrogen space, and our team at TriMet is working to include Lyft in our non-diesel plan moving forward. So we're working more collectively internally to make sure that we've got our eyes on everything that's available in the market. These vehicles meet CARB emission standards, so the California Air Reduction Board, which are the highest emission requirements in the country, and it's a large reason why the diesel vehicles are no longer produced, because so many vehicles are sold in California that it really drove the industry to say, hey, no more of these polluters. Let's really work to refine the standards, and those standards get more stringent every year. So we will continue working to make sure that we are getting the most efficient vehicles. We are also looking at, we don't have the infrastructure currently at Lyft either, so we're beginning the process with our capital team to start evaluating what it would take to build infrastructure into one of our yards. So I hope to have some more good news to report there with movement to get infrastructure in place so that when the vehicles are available, then we have it built and we're ready to go. So we're keeping our eyes on the prize there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Definitely prayers to the FTA gods and goddesses. Okay, does anyone else have any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and great work on the grants. Now we will consider Resolution 240955, authorizing a contract with Bridge Data Solutions for information technology server and storage hardware, software, and related services. Mr. General Manager, do you have any comments on this resolution for us?
So President Lewis, members of the board, our TriMet Information Technology Division is crucial in maintaining our operational technology infrastructure. It includes 2 data centers where our network services are located at. Just about anything that's done on our computer at TriMet goes through those data centers. And this infrastructure also supports critical services like our CCTV footage, our dispatch system, all of the information that goes through there for transit services, and essential enterprise applications like our Oracle Finance system and also our Human Capital Management system, along with hundreds of other applications that go through there. So to ensure reliability, we routinely replace outdated hardware, updated software, and increase capacity to meet the growing needs here and demands. So in March 2017, the board authorized a 4-year contract with Bridge Data Solution, or BDS, for such services, as well as approved 2 modifications during the contract term as need arose, and also additional expenditures was required. So the total amount of the BDS contract came in to $7.1 million. The contract expired in March of 2022. Since then, TriMet has used existing cooperative contracts to meet the need for the goods and services that are provided. Today, we are seeking a contract with BDS. This contract will allow us to buy the hardware and software to keep our data systems and various support facilities running, while benefiting from work directly with a company considered a qualified value-add reseller. And that refers to a firm that enhances the value of third-party IT products by adding customized products or services for resale to end users such as TriMet. In addition to continuing favorable pricing, a new contract will let TriMet engage with the vendor for assistance in designing, implementing, and supporting the technology acquired through the contract. So following the issuance of our RFP in July, BDS was selected as the most qualified vendor based on its understanding of TriMet's needs and its staff qualifications. The proposal contract is for 5 years and capped at $8 million. TriMet will use task orders for actual expenditures. Looking briefly at the firm's diversity, BDS has 20 employees, of whom 15% are female and 10% are minorities. And I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. At this time, before I ask for comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240955?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone have any comments before we ask for a vote? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, at this time, I am pausing our regular business meeting so that the board may convene as the TriMet Contract Review Board, also TCRB, to consider the next two resolutions. Oregon Public Contracting Law and TCRB rules allow the board in its role as the TCRB to exempt contracts from the low bid solicitation process to allow for best value contract procurements. Authorizing the exemption will allow the agency to consider factors in favor to price in awarding a contract. Now, in our role as the TriMet Contract Review Board, we will consider Resolution 240956, which requests that the TCRB authorize a class exemption from low bid requirements to allow a competitive RFP procurement for on-call concrete and pavement installation, maintenance, and repair services. General Manager, your comments.
Thanks, President Lewis. Members of the board, we are seeking a class exemption from the low bid contracting rules in order to conduct a best valued RFP solicitation for small contractors to provide on-call services for the installation, maintenance, and repair and replacement of concrete and pavement at various TriMet facilities. TriMet currently owns and operates 33 parking lots, 16 transit centers, and 16 buildings. These assets and others require ongoing maintenance and potential new installations for concrete and pavement. A best valued solicitation process will allow us to evaluate contractors on multiple factors beyond price, include factors such as experience, safety, and quality of work. With this exemption, TriMet also aims to limit our contractor pool to firms certified by Oregon's Office for Business Inclusion and Diversity, which will promote participation from disadvantaged, minority, and women-owned businesses. This approach helps smaller firms build relationships with TriMet, fostering collaboration and subcontracting opportunities among certified firms. We also propose to exempt these contracts from bonding requirements, facilitating greater participation from smaller firms that often face challenges securing bonding. Most task orders will be below the $100,000 bonding threshold, minimizing risk to the agency. The cost of work is included in our FY25 maintenance budget, and funding for this work will be included in future annual budgets. I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager. Before I ask for comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240956?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to make any comments before we vote? Thank you, Director Kellogg.
Thank you. Just briefly, it's a conversation I already had with our general counsel, but I've asked on the Exhibit A findings, the important part of this, if we can standardize that form in terms of the presentation of it. It helps a lot in terms of, checking off our responsibilities to make sure that those things are all justified per the statute. So that's my only request. Otherwise, no comment.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Director Frisbee.
Thank you, President Lewis. I know we're in a bit of a procurement leadership transition moment, but I have a request for possible or future board feedback as to how this process goes. I appreciate the innovative approach and sort of the more comprehensive look, thinking about how do bonding requirements impact co-bid firms, et cetera. As the contract review board, I'm also interested in making sure that this moves forward, understanding how it really does help us build relationships with co-bid firms and how it also protects risk and protects taxpayer dollars. So don't need a specific, report a year or 2 years later back on this specific contract, but to the extent that we delve into it more, would love an opportunity for us to learn, is this achieving the goals that we are hoping to achieve, and does it continue to have us be a responsible user of taxpayer dollars?
Points taken. We will definitely follow up with the board on all of those points that you've made.
We made you walk up here for nothing.
That's okay. Okay, thank you, Director Frisbee. And I think there has been board discussion on having future education pieces to really see if we're meeting the goals as far as the TCRB board. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Director Edwards.
Yes, thank you. And my comments kind of flow with Director Kellogg and Director Frisbee as well. Just concerned at what that language looks like that protects TriMet regarding the bonding issue.
Okay, thank you, Director Edwards. Very important. Seeing no other comments, at this time, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Now we will consider Resolution 240957, which requests that the TCRB authorize an exemption from low bid requirements to procure construction manager general contractor service for the Type 1 traction power substation replacement project. General Manager, your comments?
Thanks, President Lewis. Members of the board, this is a complex construction project that will replace 6 traction power stations along the original Max Blue Line. These substations were originally installed in 1983 and have reached their end of their service life, with many components that are obsolete right now. So you can imagine the challenges that we're having. The project will require the management of the interdependent, multidisciplinary construction stage and phases of multiple elements of work at 6 different sites. Potentially negative impacts on TriMet's operations, our ridership, and our neighboring communities must be limited. And that's part of this. That includes minimizing planned disruptions and risks of unplanned disruptions. The overall project must maintain an aggressive schedule to reach substantial completion as soon as possible. Due to the project's complexity, we need to use the services of a CMGC or construction manager general contractor to oversee design completion, construction staging, and risk management. The resolution seeks approval for TriMet to use an RFP best value process instead of a low bid process to obtain the CMGC services. That will allow TriMet to consider various factors beyond our price, such as experience, safety, and small business utilization. The RFP process will allow TriMet to consider the contractor's workforce diversity and the use of small and COVID-certified businesses. The budget for these CMGC services is included in TriMet's 5-year engineering and construction capital improvement plan forecasts, and I recommend your approval.
Thank you, General Manager. Before I ask for comments, is there a motion to approve Resolution 240957?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone have comments? Any comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I will adjourn the TCRB and reconvene the TriMet Board of Directors for the balance of this meeting. All right. Our last piece of business is to take up the General Manager's FY24 performance evaluation and merit increase recommendations. As I stated earlier during our my board report on this subject, in your packet was a written performance evaluation and merit increase recommendation, as well as the status report on all of the General Manager's deliverables for FY24. The evaluation concludes that General Manager Dessou completed the FY24 deliverables and has shown strong leadership and excellent performance throughout fiscal year 2024. In light of General Manager Dessou's excellent performance in FY24, the evaluation contains a recommendation for a 6% merit increase, which is consistent with TriMet's established compensation policies for an excellent performance rating. Mr. Dessou's current annual salary is $428,480. A 6% increase would result in a new annual salary of $454,188.80. The written evaluation states that this merit increase would be effective September 15th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the General Manager's FY24 performance evaluation, including a 6% merit increase effective September 15th, 2024?
So moved.
Oh, got it. Wow, okay. Yes.
You can count mine as a second.
Oh, okay, is there a second? Thank you. It has been moved and second. I'm sure there are comments at this time.
Yes, I'll go ahead. And
Okay. And then
I will say that the General Manager continues to impress me with what he's done with with TriMet since he's been here, and I don't know how he does it, but he continues to improve annually, and I certainly appreciate that. It's reflected in the staff, the attitude of the staff, and the environment, and I think that what we're all proud of is that because of his leadership, we can look at TriMet as a template for other agencies and other entities of certainly not only of this size, but even smaller and larger. And I think what he has done with the organization as we continue to move forward has shown the values that he has, but also the values that he has imparted to the community at large, through diversity, through efficiency, through a paradigm shift that is reflected, as I say, in the staff and in the personnel and the whole environment of TriMet, not only in management, but also in the labor side as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Edwards. Director Kim?
Thank you. General Manager DeSutte, congratulations on your excellent ratings. Thank you for your service. I look forward to more this upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Director Frisbee?
Thank you, President Lewis. This feels like a board meeting where a lot of different pieces are coming together, Sam, and I think that all of those pieces reflect your leadership and your approach to this agency and the team that you have built. As I look out across this room of many of your team members, with the approval of the new labor contract, with the celebration of Better Red just last month, we didn't do enough Vision 2030 in here today, but we're talking about pieces and components of it, and it is. I feel like the first your first tenure was steeped deeply in COVID, and you had everything thrown at you and your team, and in that time you were always team focused. How do we support the folks who work here? How do we support the folks who depend on TriMet in our community? And that consistent prioritization is so important and so inspiring. And I hope now, as we move from this moment of stabilization, it is now how can we push and grow all of ourselves while continuing to build on that support. And I see you doing that. I am excited about you leading that. And thank you for the work and the investment you've done so far. So I think we all are thrilled about this moment, and more to the point, are thrilled about what comes next, and deeply appreciative of all that you do. And I will put in a plug here that occasionally it is okay to turn off your phone. Your commitment is unparalleled, and for everyone's sake, including yours, I hope occasionally you can turn it off.
Thank you, Director Frisbee.
I'll be brief. You've gotten a lot of positive comments today, and we don't want you to get too puffed up. Still got to come to work tomorrow. No, but I did want to mention two things. This is was my first full year on the board. I want to thank you from the beginning of my time till today. You've been nothing but welcoming, available, and with all the responsibilities somebody has, I know how difficult that is. So thank you for that. In particular, I want to talk about the safety and security piece and how you've embraced that as it wasn't already a component that was very important. Now it is top priority, and we're making a difference, and I thank you for that. The second thing, and it's a smaller one, but still a highly important one, was you and your team's response to that ICE emergency in January just showed extraordinary commitment, and I think all of us felt very proud, and all of you were very tired. So, but that expression of commitment in the time of need was just exemplary. So, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Director Kellogg. Director Frisbee has one last comment. No,
I promise it's last.
No, it's
and
fine.
It is a thank you to you, Board Chair and President Lewis, who stepped in the middle of the term and picked this up, and your thoughtfulness, your ability to look at the big picture and also dig down into all the pieces, and your willingness to use this as an opportunity to connect with all of your board members and the TriMet leadership team is deeply appreciated. So I just wanted to also say thank you to you, because this is not an easy process, and you did sort of get handed a little bit of a messy box. So thank you for wrapping it up and putting a bow on it for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do want to say, never give your new president a job of the evaluation of the general manager. It was very rough, especially leading up to leaving for Japan. I was compared to, my thoughts were there, but the work needed to be done, roll up the sleeves, and I got up very close and personal to all the board members. It gave me an opportunity to call them not once, twice, but speed dial many times. And the thank you to Kim and to Shelley, for bringing together the large packet, because I was I was a little demanding. I need this, I need that. I need all 12 of Sam's director reports for the entire year. I need his job description. And so the board was able to look and see all the components, plus his first and second year evaluation. And so that's an important piece of the huge job that we have as a board. So I just want to say thank you for being there, to all the board members, not avoiding my many calls and my texts. I do text 24/7, 6 in the morning all the way to 9 at night. Thank you for stepping up. And to Sam, I know more about your job than I really ever thought I would know. All 12 of your deliverables, I know them by heart. And we've added some, we've brought some forward, and we've added some new ones going forward. He has a tough job, but his job is just awesome, mainly because of his team. And there was a part of his evaluation of how he moves his team forward to get excellence. It's amazing, and it was a very rewarding process. I think every president should just bow down and say thank you to the board and to the executive director. I'm trying not to cry here, but thank you. Any other comments? There's Director Edwards. Okay, with that moment of all in favor of, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Let's stop and give a round of applause to our general manager. Turn off the phone. Not yet, we're not done. Okay. I have a final resolution for the board to consider. As you are aware, earlier this year, one of the directors with the name of Edwards indicated he would be trying to retire from TriMed as soon as the governor appointed a replacement. And it went on, and he's still here, and he's smiling at us. But he continued graciously to serve since that time. This week, the Oregon Senate confirmed governor's appointment of J.T. Flowers to serve in Director Edwards' district effective October 1st. I'm looking to see if he made it. Okay. Oh, no, okay. Accordingly, this will be, I'm not going to cry, Director Edwards' final board meeting. Therefore, I move that the board adopt the following resolution of the Tri-County Metropolitan, that's our real name, Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon, honoring Keith Edwards for his service as a member of the TriMed Board of Directors. This resolution honoring Keith Edwards. Resolution of the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon honoring Keith Edwards for his service as a member of the TriMet Board of Directors. Whereas the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon and its Board of Directors wish to honor Keith Edwards for his commitment and steadfast service on the board. And whereas Keith Edwards has served as a member of the Board of Directors since May 25, 2018. That makes you old. Whereas he focused, I'm just teasing, old board member. Yes. He focused on securing, strengthening, and promoting the fair and impeded rights of seniors and people with disabilities to access the transit system. And whereas Keith Edwards served on the Amalgamated Transit Union TriMet Pension Trust Committee, wisely exercising his fiduciary responsibilities and commitment to protect and enhance this critical trust fund. And whereas Keith Edwards' long career as a union electrician and leader in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers gave him insight into the perspective of TriMet's Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU, represented employees, allowing him to engage with ATU leadership and help forge positive union management relationships with TriMet. And whereas Keith Edwards consistently advocated, and still today, for diversity and equity in all matters presented to the board, voicing his support for TriMet's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program and efforts to extend contracting opportunities to minority and female businesses. And whereas Keith Edwards demonstrated exemplary leadership in response to issues of systematic racism and challenges to the provision of safe and secure service for all public transit riders, collaboratively working to reimagine safety and security on the TriMet system. And whereas Keith Edwards initiated the board's adoption of the ordinance number 360 as Rosa Parks Day, now recognized on her February 4th birthday to celebrate Rosa Parks' civil rights leadership, affirmation of human dignity, and the refusal to tolerate racism in public transit. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the TriMet Board of Directors and TriMet staff hereby express their gratitude to Keith Edwards for his generous contributions of dedication, thoughtful, professional, wise, kind, and considerate service, and be it further resolved that a framed copy of this resolution be presented to Keith Edwards as an expression of our heartfelt respect and appreciation. Director Edwards, would you like to say a few words?
I would say thank you, and thank you all. Thank you to Governor Brown for my appointments, and thank you to Governor Kotek for my replacement. But I really want to thank. I have to thank everyone, and there's no separation. The board, I've appreciated working with all of you. You bring your values and your determination and your caring for our community to the board, and I appreciate that. That really makes it easy. And I appreciate the staff. The staff is so personable. They're there, they come, they're efficient. The environment is so welcoming. If I didn't know better, I would think that as a board member, I was the general manager, because they treat each of us with such respect and dignity. and we've built relationships with each other, and those relationships will last a lifetime. And I certainly appreciate that as well. I'm so happy to see TriMet be the gold standard with all that we do, dealing with the public, dealing with the government, dealing with each other. We have been the gold standard, and to be a part of that is so rewarding. And it's something, like I say, that brings value for me and benefit for me, simply because as a volunteer, we look at things, we think, oh, I'm putting my time in, I'm putting my energy in. Oh, I can't go to this, I can't go to that because I've got to prepare for this meeting or go to this meeting. But the benefit and value that we receive from being able to serve people can't be measured. Martin Luther King said years ago that all of us can be great because all of us can serve. And I truly believe that. And I'm certain that all of you do as well, because even though you don't receive any monetary gain from doing what you do, there's something that you receive that can never be taken away. And that is the pride in being able to help our fellow brothers and sisters in our community. So thank you all for that. I can't thank you enough. The CAT committee, working on that committee was, it was a labor of love. Working with Jan, working with all the members of the CAT committee has been incredible, incredible. They are intense, but that intensity is reflected in the benefit of improving ridership for TriMet. And I thank them for all of that. I thank Claudia, I thank Dave, I thank Anna Diana. I know I'm going to leave someone out, but I thank all of you. I certainly thank Eileen and the staff as well, working with the CAT committee. When I couldn't make meetings, they made sure that I had minutes from the meeting so that I could give a report. And I just really appreciate this experience. It was difficult trying to make a decision to leave prior to my expiration of my term. But it's there comes a time when I think we all have to make a decision to move on. And I'm certainly happy that you're going to have a great person on the board in JT Flowers. He's a young man with unlimited potential, and he's going to be fantastic. So thank you all very much. I appreciate all that you've given me during these last 6 years. So thank you.
Thank you. I do have one small piece I skipped over. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second. At this time, I'll ask for comments, feedback from the board. Director Kellogg.
Thank you. Director Edwards, I can still call you that for the next few days. I only got to serve a little bit over a year with you, but my impression of that service is that you were effectively the moral conscience of this board. And while others of us certainly have those qualities, you had it in spades. And every decision we made, you had a meaningful comment about it and to ensure that we kept our eye on the ball. In addition, I want to let you know you were a role model in terms of being a committee liaison. Your reports were always very thorough. As we heard today, your dedication was unmatched. And so thank you for setting that example for all of us. You will be missed.
Director Frisbee.
I will stay brief because the choices are to be brief or to go on forever in laudatory comments. But I will say, Director Edwards, I also only served a little over a year with you and learned so much in that time. Your stature and reputation in the community because of all the work you have done, it precedes you and absolutely preceded my opportunity working with you. And it was even more of a learning experience in the best way to serve on this board with you. So thank you for what you have done for TriMet. Thank you for what you have done for the greater Portland area and everyone who interacts with TriMet. And we all wish you a enjoyable and exciting next steps with maybe a fewer packets.
Thank you, Director Frisbee. Director Kim?
Thank you, Director Edwards. You went beyond the transactional aspect of our responsibility as board members. You touched hearts, and I'm thankful to have learned that from you. We appreciate your service. Godspeed on your next chapter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Any other comments? Yes. General Manager.
So Director Edwards, it's been misty for me here the last 15 minutes here. I had to go gather myself just a moment ago and bring it. I want to let you know that you have been a mentor to me for my last 6 years at this organization. You've been someone that stated about the moral compass of doing what's right and doing what's needed for the community. I have seen you and your wife. I have been to events with you and Governor Brown. I have seen the efforts that you give back and pay forward to people that were incarcerated, that need an up hand to IBEW. I've witnessed that myself. I've had breakfast with you at various locations throughout this region and seen how people come up to you and pay tribute and respect to you. So that has been tremendously something that I will keep with me for the rest of my life. You've touched my life, and I want to let you know that. Your presence, as what's been stated here, will be missed. And your impact that you brought to the board will be felt for quite a while as we move forward here. You have made a very significant difference over the course of your time serving on this board of volunteer service. For our employees, you've helped us to prioritize building bridges with the ATU and how important that is to the organization, really fostering those relationships that you've had. That has truly benefited all 2,800 union employees at this organization. You have touched them, their families, and the larger community of TriMet. And it's your leadership, as what was read earlier about recognizing February 4th. It was you that brought that to our attention. It was you that brought that to our community about recognizing Rosa Parks Day and her birthday and Transit Equity Day and how important that is, especially for me as a young man that grew up on public transportation. I know what that means, and I really appreciate that. That day reminds us of our commitment to ensure that all of us who use our services are treated equally. And you made that very clear during your stay here. And then on that special day, to make sure that we gave free rides to everyone that ride the system regardless of fare, to reflect on Rosa Parks' life and also the history she made during that time frame, or just for people to simply get to opportunities. And you made that possible for all of us to be able to do that. I want to tell you, sir, what a special experience, what a gift that you've been to me, to this board, and to our public. You have helped bring everyone who lives in this area together, who we serve. It has been absolutely an honor and a pleasure to serve with you and under you as one of my mentors. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Director Edwards, just a few final words from myself. You were my mentor when I joined the board a couple of years ago. I just want to echo everything my fellow board members and the general manager has said. I'll party with you on Saturday, okay? And enjoy the cigars from Cuba. At this time, are there any other comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye of the resolution.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been quite an honor. Do we? Okay, moving right along to our new business, as I referenced a few minutes ago this morning, and it's still happening, it hasn't finished yet, the Oregon Senate to confirm the appointment of J.T. Flowers to fill Director Edwards' very huge shoes, and the Senate also to confirm for vacancy seat for Director Ozzie Gonzalez. It is our understanding that Ms. Graham is currently on an airplane, not here to be with us, but both will be starting their board membership on October 1st. And we just are kind of waiting for their confirmation. That should be coming maybe, you never know, next 15 minutes. I think that's it. Yep, just checking here. All right, let's move on to the last piece of the new business, the GM's FY25 deliverables. He's not going anywhere. Our next order of business is the general manager's 25 deliverables. Yes, no sooner than we finish the 24, we are on to the next fiscal year. In your board packet is a document entitled General Manager's Deliverables for FY 2025, which is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. This document contains 15 general manager deliverables for the fiscal year that spanned a wide spectrum of agency initiatives and issues, from continuing to fully develop and implement strategic plans and action to achieve Vision 2030, to commissioning and operating in regular service the new Type 6 light rail vehicles, to managing and aligning financial performance with the agency's strategic financial plan. This document was developed in partnership with the rest of the board, who I solicited again with lots of texts, late night calls, ice cream, and promises of coffee, and received, oh, you missed that part. I drive a hard bargain. And received extensive input, as well as collaboration with the general manager. Yep, he had no choice. It will form the basis of next year's performance evaluation of the general manager. Do any board members wish to make any comments at this time? Director Frisbee.
I guess my last one wasn't my last comment, but I will make this brief. This is a appreciate you, Director Lewis, Board Chair Lewis, for putting this together. Appreciate and am excited about what this represents for the agency. I love that it is already identified by the executive team and who will be carrying pieces forward. I think that underlines what a team effort this is and the team effort and servant leadership approach that you have built throughout your team. So this is exciting. We've got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, that will conclude our business for today and to adjourn the business meeting. At this time, I conclude the TriMet Board meeting is concluded. We will take a short break before we begin our board briefing on the IBR Interstate Bridge Replacement Project. Well, we can't have a picture with Director Edwards. We will have that at another time. Let's take a 10-minute break. Okay. Leave that there.
I know, I was like,
Well done.
yeah. Woo. You did it. That was amazing.